My brother demanded that I give him my house because he had a baby. Now he's calling me a traitor. So last week, my brother Mark showed up at my house out of the blue, holding his newborn in one arm and a folder of papers in the other. He said he had something important to discuss. I assumed he needed advice about the baby or maybe just a break from being a new dad. I couldn't have been more wrong. Right as I offered him coffee, he cut me off mid-sentence and said, "You don't need this house anymore. You should give it to us. We've got a baby now." At first, I actually laughed. I thought it was one of his weird jokes, but then I realized he wasn't joking. His face was dead serious. I just stared at him, waiting for a punchline that never came. When I asked him what he was talking about, he launched into this long-winded explanation about how he and his wife, Jessica, are barely making ends meet with their tiny apartment. Apparently, their landlord raised the rent, and they were struggling to cover expenses with the new baby. And because I'm single and financially stable, he decided I should give him my house. Let me explain. This house was left to me by my grandparents when they passed a couple of years ago. It's not a mansion or anything, but it's my dream home. I grew up visiting it every summer and had a lot of memories tied to it. When it became mine, I poured almost all my savings into renovations. New kitchen, new floors, even updated the plumbing. It's not just a house to me. It's my safe space. I tried to be calm and rational. I told Mark, "I'm really sorry you're struggling, but this house was left to me for a reason. I've worked hard to make it my own." But he wouldn't drop it. He said, "You don't have a family. It's selfish to keep this all to yourself when we have a child to think about." Jessica, who apparently had been sitting in the car outside, came in at that point. She started chiming in about how families should help each other, and how they had already planned out how to make this space work for their growing family. Planned out? She even had the audacity to suggest I could rent a nice apartment somewhere since I'm just one person. I was dumbfounded. I told them flat out, "This is my home. I'm not giving it up." That's when things got nasty. Jessica started crying. I swear it felt fake, and said something like, "I knew she wouldn't understand. She's always been selfish." Mark got more aggressive and accused me of hoarding resources. He actually said, "It's not fair that you have all this while we're struggling to get by." At this point, I was so angry I could barely keep my voice steady. I asked them to leave, but Mark dropped his folder of papers on my coffee table and said, "Think about it. It's what's best for the family." When they finally left, I sat there staring at the folder. It was filled with documents, suggested timelines for moving out, a budget for how they'd maintain the house, and even a drafted letter to my HOA informing them of the change in ownership. I couldn't believe the level of entitlement. They had planned this like it was a done deal. The next day, it got worse. My parents called me, and guess what? They're on Mark's side. My mom said, "You don't need such a big place, sweetheart. Mark has a baby now, and it's only fair to prioritize the family." My dad said something like, "You're single? You have flexibility?" They don't. I tried to explain my side, but it was like talking to a brick wall. Every time I said no, they made me feel like I was some greedy villain. What hurt the most was when my mom said, "I thought we raised you better than this." Like I'm the one being unreasonable. For a couple of days, I actually started doubting myself. Was I being selfish? Should I just let them have the house? But then I remembered everything I've been through to make this place mine. The late nights scraping wallpaper, the weekends spent installing cabinets, the years I saved every extra penny to make it happen. I realized it wasn't just about the house. It was about how little they respected my boundaries or my hard work. When I told Mark again that I wouldn't be giving them my house, he completely flipped. He said I was tearing the family apart and even called me heartless. He stormed off, and later that night, Jessica posted a long, dramatic Facebook rant about toxic relatives who turn their backs on family in their time of need. She didn't name me directly, but it was obvious who she was talking about. Some of my extended family have already started messaging me, asking why I won't help poor Mark and Jessica. Now I feel like I'm being ganged up on from every angle. I don't know how to handle this. It feels like my entire family is against me, and all because I said no to something completely ridiculous. The final straw? This morning, I got a text from Mark saying, "If you don't do the right thing, don't expect to be part of our lives anymore, and that includes your nephew." Update. If you thought my brother demanding my house was bad, buckle up, because things have taken a turn I never saw coming. I didn't think it could get any more ridiculous. I was wrong. After my brother Mark and his wife Jessica stormed out of my house and posted their passive-aggressive Facebook rant, I thought the drama might start to die down. I figured they'd eventually realize how insane their demand was and move on. But no. Instead, I came home from work a few days later to find an envelope taped to my front door. Inside, a notice of legal action. Yes, you read that right. Mark and Jessica are trying to sue me for my own house. At first, I thought it was a prank. Who does that? But as I read through the documents, my stomach dropped. They're claiming that the house was part of the family estate and that I unfairly claimed it, without consideration for their needs. They're demanding that I either sign over the deed or sell the house and split the proceeds with them. I was in complete disbelief. My grandparents left this house to me in their will, clearly, explicitly, with my name on it. I had nothing to do with their decision. But apparently, Mark and Jessica think they're entitled to override that because they have a baby, and I don't. The next day, I called my lawyer. I was still trying to wrap my head around the fact that my own brother would go this far. My lawyer, thankfully, reassured me that their case was flimsy at best. The will is ironclad, and there's no legal basis for their claim. Still, just knowing I'd have to deal with this mess made my blood boil. How dare they drag me into court over something that isn't even up for debate? What really pushed me over the edge, though, was when I found out who was bankrolling their lawsuit. My parents. They've been helping Mark and Jessica pay for a lawyer to come after me. When I confronted them, my mom tried to justify it, saying, "We're just trying to make things fair for everyone." Fair? What about the years I spent saving and working to make this house livable? What about the fact that I didn't ask for this house? It was given to me. My dad was no better. He told me, "We just don't want to see Mark and Jessica struggle. You're doing fine on your own." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told them flat out that they were enabling Mark's entitlement and that I'd never forgive them if they kept pushing this. My mom started crying, saying, "I don't know what's happened to this family." Yeah, Mom, neither do I. As if all that wasn't enough, Jessica has taken her campaign against me to social media. She's been posting all these sob stories about how heartless I am for hoarding the family home, while their baby is crammed into a tiny apartment. She even posted pictures of their apartment, making it look worse than it is, along with a caption like, "All we want is a safe space for our baby." Is that too much to ask? The comments are full of people sympathizing with her, saying things like, "Your sister should be ashamed of herself," and family is supposed to support each other. I tried to ignore it, but then I started getting messages from extended family members, cousins, aunts, even people I haven't spoken to in years. They're all saying I should do the right thing and help out. Some of them even accused me of being ungrateful for the inheritance. It's like they've completely forgotten that this is my house. At this point, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Every time I try to explain the situation, I'm met with guilt trips and accusations. It's not just the lawsuit or the social media drama. It's the fact that my own family has turned against me. I feel like I'm fighting a battle I never asked to be part of. But then, things took an even darker turn. While going through the legal documents again, I noticed something odd. Buried in the paperwork was a mention of a family agreement that I supposedly signed, stating that the house was meant to be shared. I was confused because I've never signed anything like that. When I showed it to my lawyer, he confirmed what I was already suspecting. The signature was forged. I was livid. Who would stoop that low? My lawyer said it was likely Mark and Jessica, but proving it would take time. Meanwhile, they've been telling everyone I'm dragging out the legal process just to spite them. As if that wasn't enough, I recently found out that Jessica has been lying about their financial situation. A friend of mine saw her at a high-end baby store, dropping hundreds on designer nursery furniture. She's also been posting photos of their struggles on Facebook, right alongside pictures of fancy dinners and spa days. So much for barely making ends meet. I'm starting to wonder if this was their plan all along. Did they see me as an easy target? Did they think I'd just roll over and hand them the house to avoid conflict? The thought makes me sick. I've always tried to be there for my family, but this feels like a betrayal I can't come back from. The lawsuit is still ongoing, but my lawyer is confident we'll win. That said, the damage has already been done. My relationship with my family feels broken beyond repair. Every time I think about what they've put me through, I feel this mix of anger and sadness that I can't even describe. And the cherry on top? Mark showed up at my house again yesterday. He had the nerve to say, "You're going to regret this. When the baby grows up, they'll know what kind of aunt you really are." I didn't even dignify it with a response. I just closed the door. I don't know how this will end, but one thing's for sure. I'm not giving up my house. If that makes me the villain in their story, so be it. Final update. This isn't just about the house anymore. This is about a family secret that's completely shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. To recap, my brother Mark and his wife Jessica are suing me for my house, the one my grandparents left to me in their will. My parents are siding with them and even funding their legal fees. Things have been tense, to say the least, but I was confident that the case would fall apart since the house is legally mine. What I didn't expect was for this fight to unearth a secret that would change everything. It started a few weeks ago. My lawyer had requested some family documents to further disprove Mark and Jessica's claim that the house was part of a family inheritance meant to be shared. I didn't think much of it. I figured it was just standard procedure. But when the documents arrived, I noticed something strange. There was a file I'd never seen before, labeled with my grandparents' names and dated decades before I was born. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. Inside were letters, legal agreements, and a handwritten note from my grandmother. What I read made my stomach drop. It turns out Mark isn't my full brother. He's my half-brother. Apparently, before my parents got married, my mom had an affair with another man, Mark's biological father. My grandparents knew about it and were furious, but they agreed to keep the secret for the sake of family unity. The letters revealed that Mark's biological father had left a significant sum of money to my mom when Mark was born, with the understanding that it would be used for Mark's benefit. My grandparents used part of that money to buy the house that eventually became mine. I sat there in shock, rereading the letters over and over. It felt like the ground beneath me had shifted. My entire life I believed we were a normal family, well, as normal as families get. But this was a betrayal on so many levels. My mom had kept this secret for decades, and now it was coming to light in the ugliest way possible. At first, I didn't know what to do with the information. Should I confront my mom? Tell Mark? I decided to sit on it for a few days while I processed everything. But of course, secrets like this have a way of exploding on their own. Last week, during another heated argument with Mark, he blurted out, "You don't even know the whole story. You're not the only one Grandma and Grandpa screwed over." I froze. I asked him what he meant, and that's when he dropped the bomb. He knew he wasn't my full brother. He's known for years. Apparently, our mom told him the truth when he was a teenager. But instead of feeling betrayed by her, he felt like he was owed something more. Like the money his biological father left was rightfully his. That's why he feels entitled to the house. In his mind, the house was bought with his inheritance, so it should go to him. I was speechless. I asked him why he didn't just say something earlier if he felt that way, and he said, "Because I knew you'd never give it up willingly." He admitted that the lawsuit, the forged documents, even the social media campaign were all part of a plan to pressure me into handing over the house. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't just entitlement. This was calculated manipulation, and my parents were in on it. When I confronted them, they didn't even deny it. My mom said, "We just wanted to make things right for Mark." I asked her why she thought it was okay to lie to me, to let me believe this house was truly mine, only to turn around and help Mark try to take it. Her response? "We thought you'd understand. You have your whole life ahead of you. Mark needs this more." That was the moment I realized I couldn't trust them anymore. They didn't see me as their daughter. They saw me as an obstacle to Mark's happiness. I told them I wanted nothing to do with any of them until this mess was resolved. Since then, I've been going through a whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, sadness. I've felt it all. But I've also started to feel a strange sense of relief. At least now I know the truth. I know why my family has treated me like an outsider, why they've always bent over backward for Mark while expecting me to fend for myself. It doesn't make it hurt any less, but it gives me clarity. As for the lawsuit, my lawyer is preparing to counter their claims with everything we've uncovered. The forged documents alone are enough to sink their case, and I'm considering pressing charges for fraud. Mark and Jessica are doubling down, though. They've been telling everyone I stole Mark's birthright. Some of our extended family has turned against me, but others have started to see through their lies. The house is still mine, and I'm not letting it go. But the cost of keeping it has been higher than I ever imagined. My relationship with my parents and Mark is completely destroyed. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive them for what they've done, but one thing's for sure. I'm done being the family scapegoat.